Okay, it is 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee meeting of March 15, 2021. We'll recognize that we have a full complement of Township Committee. We've got 4 Township Committee here: Committeeman Stevenson, Committeeman Hickey, Committeewoman Mareski, and Committeewoman Fernandez is participating by Zoom. Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville, to the Burnsville News in Whippany, to all subscribers, and then posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 7th, 2021.
Great, thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So once again, as we've been doing for, it feels like just about a year, going over the COVID numbers for Bedminster, based upon the information on the county's website from today. Bedminster has a total of 336 cases of COVID. Once again, those are laboratory confirmed cases from the beginning through to today. Those are laboratory confirmed cases. Once again, they do not include the rapid tests or cases that have not gone through the state program. We remain at 5 fatalities. We've been at that number for a while. As I mentioned before, the numbers that we see from the county that come to Judy Sullivan and to me over the last months, coming in 1, 2 a day, sometimes a day without any. So it, once again, not a scientific evaluation, but we do see some stabilizing from where we had been in fall and earlier in the winter. Fire. So the Larkspur Court fire. As everyone knows, we've been collecting money through Bedminster Township for the displaced residents from that situation. And Ms. Sullivan, we are still getting money in, right?
Every day we get a couple of people stop in with checks. It's been, steady stream. Not quite as many as we got right the first couple of weeks, but there's still 2, 3, 4 every day.
Right.
So.
And look, once again, these folks are, they're in need. Like, some of them lost everything, and the insurance is going to cover some temporary housing situation, but we still don't know when that temporary situation is going to be rectified and folks will be allowed to move back into the units, or when the units will be restored such that folks can move back. Also, on the, while we stay on the fire issue, we've been coordinating with our fire code office and our construction office to make sure that our permitting group, our enforcement, our inspectors are on the standby as needed to expedite any permits and approvals that may be necessary to review water lines, electricity lines, or anything else to get those units back in operation. So we are coordinating with the contractor for the insurance companies, and we are hopeful that once again we've got full cooperation from those insurance companies and their contractors, because from our end we're ready to do what we can to put those units back online. Public comments. This is the opportunity for public comment for tonight's meeting. We have no phone calls, so everyone is participating by Zoom. If there's anyone who's looking to make a comment for tonight, go to the bottom of the screen to participants and hit raise hand, and Ms. Sullivan or Ms. Ray will recognize you and will take your comment.
From Jeffrey Letter.
Okay. Hey, everybody.
An address, please.
9 Westcott Road, Bedminster. Okay.
Okay, Jeff?
And thanks everybody for hearing me. Just a quick comment regarding garbage and recycling pickups in predominantly the hills, and I assume other areas too. That since in the last few months, there have been an awful lot of, as you can imagine, increases of people ordering things online and so forth like that. So the garbage production has been completely out of control. And I was just wondering if mainly recycling, because people all over the hills specifically have been leaving a lot more boxes out, and the county picks up once every 2 weeks. Well, they're supposed to anyway, and that has not really even been happening with the storms and everything. Overwhelming garbage companies, and I'm just wondering if there's anything the township can do to talk to the county about maybe working with us to figure out a way to resolve these problems, because what is happening is it's overwhelming the garbage companies, who are having a hell of a time keeping up with it and missing delivery dates and pickup dates, leaving dumpsters out. Yesterday in the wind, we had boxes blowing all over the parking lot. And it's just a nightmare. It's absolutely, in the last couple of months, it's turned into a nightmare. And I'm just wondering if there's anything we can do with the county to figure out a plan for this. Just wanted to plant a seed.
Well, I'll turn to, whenever I'm stumped with a question, I go to Judy Sullivan.
So we have a contract with Somerset County who does the recycling pickup. Actually, our cost this year did increase for that once every 2 weeks pickup on every other Tuesday, I believe it is. We are going to be changing over to a single stream container probably by May this year. They will not so much for the hills developments that have the dumpsters, but for those residences that currently put out the small round blue bucket, they will receive these single stream larger containers. So the county truck that will come has a little arm that'll come out, pick up the little container and dump it. So it will all be mechanized. But for those neighborhoods in the hills that have a dumpster for the whole neighborhood, I don't know. I can check, I can call, I can find out if there's any, like what would it cost to get an extra pickup once a month?
Jeff, is the issue that, is it one of volume? Is it one of mixing garbage with recycling, or recycling going to the garbage?
Well, there are a few things going on, Larry. I think it's well, mainly volume, and it seems to have been, especially since people have been ordering, online, which is not going to stop happening these days because of the retail situation. But the volume no longer, the bins fill up in a matter of days, and when 2 weeks go by, and then especially with bad weather, it's sometimes longer. The bins are so full. We have the dumpsters inside sheds, and then what happened is it fills up. You can't even open the door without stuff falling out, and then people leave the stuff outside. And I know the county is contracted to pick up every 2 weeks, and what some neighborhoods have chosen to do, we haven't yet in Wynwood, but we may need to, is pay somebody else to come out and do it in between, because we can't have garbage flowing around the neighborhood. And it's a matter of fact, over in Village Green, I was told that the same thing is causing a rodent problem. And the garbage, and it's also overwhelming all the garbage contractors that serve the area, because and in Village Green they're having another problem. The county puts the bins they have lids on them, and they're making them put the lids down. And they won't let the neighborhood open them up, so people can't open the lids because they're inside a shed. So it sounds to me like we've got some things to work out with the county, and I'm just asking you all if there's anything the township can do to help us with this, because I know it's not your direct responsibility, but I'm just wondering if there's any way we can get a hold of the county. And they also won't pick up if people don't break down the boxes. Now, we have 50 renters in the neighborhood. They're never going to break down the boxes, so we have to pay somebody else more money to break the boxes down so that the county will take the stuff away. you know, so it's becoming a real problem, you know, and before it gets any worse, I, you know, really have to kind of figure out a way to deal with it.
Jeff, if you could send an email to me at the Bedminster account.
Yep.
And I will forward that to the county administrator
Okay.
and see if we can't get to someone at the county through the recycling office, if there's someone at least to start engaging in a conversation on this issue.
Yeah,
I think
Paul
that-
is the head of the recycling program. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so Judy, if you could send me his contact information, then I'll copy Colleen Marr and some other folks down at the county and see if we can't get something going. I have to imagine this is county-wide an issue. This is just certainly not going to be unique to the condominium associations in Bedminster, but everywhere, everyone is going through the same thing. You're seeing more Amazon deliveries.
Cardboard box.
The cardboard is just piling up. And you're right, it needs to be broken down. And if folks aren't going to break it down, you're going to end up with that situation. And you certainly don't want recycling ending up in garbage, right? Because now you're paying again for the pleasure of getting rid of that, and you're going to pay more for garbage than you will for recycling. Yeah, so if you could articulate those issues, the concerns, and let's see if we can't get a dialogue going.
I'll appreciate it. I think you're right, Mayor. I think it's a question of just having a conversation and figuring out how do we deal with this, because it's here to stay for the time being. And I think that's really what we can do. And I appreciate your assistance on that.
And Jeff, one of the other things we've always heard from the associations is, out-of-towners or from other associations going to their neighboring association and dumping garbage there or dumping their recycling because their recycling is full, or we hear it's out-of-towners.
Right.
Or contractors.
Yeah, that's it happens. And we try to stay on top of that as much as possible. And sometimes, without, people reporting license plates, and I know that, a lot of times too, if we get a license plate, we can't really do anything with that because of the Privacy Act. But sometimes if we can catch people doing that, we'll send them a letter or a violation or something. Especially if it's somebody in a neighboring association who doesn't want to wait for their pickup day, but that is an additional problem, or contractors leaving stuff out, or people leaving furniture out and stuff like that, So, but that's all we can ask. Oh, and also, while I have your ear, I also want to thank the DPW, Doug and John, for installing that lamp on Robertson. Looks like it just went in this week. So it looks great. Now we got to work on the other side. So, but no, I definitely appreciate it. And also for everything you guys have done with the fire, and Lisa's, is very, and her neighbors are very much in appreciation of that. So.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. And ladies. Renee. And
Ms. Osterticki, your address, please.
98 Westcott.
98 Westcott.
And I am, Jeff, I'm just going to second. I jumped on tonight because it's gotten to be such a problem with the recyclables that I couldn't figure out where else to go anymore. Our neighborhood association has been talking about this for months. It has gotten beyond control. I believe several pictures from neighbors were sent to Jackie Rogers today, if you want actual pictures.
Yeah.
It is a matter of volume. I was listening to the questions. It is a matter of volume. We are in our new normal. I don't anticipate this is going to change. It's deplorable. The boxes and the garbage everywhere. It's atrocious. It's devaluing the neighborhood. I can't add enough adjectives to it. It's just, I don't know where else to go, because we keep going round and round in our neighborhood meetings and we're told it's a county thing and the county picks up. I can suggest that we add additional pickups, because obviously once every 2 weeks is not working.
I agree.
Our recyclable bins fill up within days, as Jeff said. They don't break down. So yes, it's a matter of, we have a new company maybe they can do education and maybe it will help, but something has to happen and soon. The vermin, it's a problem. It's not what it used to be, and it's getting worse fast. And then when you were talking about the fire, I have a question. Besides checks, I know that there are families that have lost everything. Do they want furniture? I know my son just moved to Hoboken. Sebastian moved to Hoboken a couple months ago. Do they want bedroom furniture? Do they need stuff like that? I didn't want to put it out in a public Facebook forum, but I will ask in this small group.
Karen, first off, congratulations to Sebastian moving to Hoboken. So it's a reminder of a small town when public comment, you know the person. From our end, we actually had this discussion, and the recommendation from the Township Committee for putting this fund drive together was to do it cash only. Clothing, furniture is just too personal, and it's certainly difficult for us to organize. But maybe if you could reach out to Jeff at 9 Westcott,
sure,
and see if there's some opportunities there, and
sure,
probably some, Jeff, if maybe that's something that you can get some word out.
I can ask because my girlfriend is one of the people who was burned out. So I mean, she's also on their board, and she can ask, because I think the two units that are completely burned out may be in need of something, but we definitely can plant the seed. So I appreciate that.
I can connect with Jeff. Thank you, Larry. Thanks.
Yeah, and Karen, so and Renee was just reminding me that right now, so there's 2 units completely destroyed.
Right.
Nothing. The units don't even exist. There's no roof. Well, there's maybe a bit of a roof. Not much of a floor between the two, the upper level and the lower level. The other units had some smoke damage, a little bit of water damage. They're still not habitable because there's no water coming in, and there's no water throughout anywhere else in that one building. So furniture may be important for those 2 units. The other units, I'm just not sure what their long-term status is.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have Mr. Vincent Garcia.
Mr. Garcia, your address, please.
That's not unmuted yet.
Sorry, 377 Finch Lane, Long Meadow neighborhood. I actually have 2 topics. I'll lead on for the recycling. I missed that point. In Long Meadow, we don't have centralized bins. We have individual residences. And I think Judy mentioned something about a rollout in the county for our township for the new recycling bins for the automated robotic pickups.
Yes.
When is that going to also cover like neighborhoods like Long Meadow? And when is the schedule for the rollout for that?
If you are currently using the small blue round bin, then you will be targeted for the new receptacles. And a target date was May, but that could change.
Okay, great.
Judy, I assume they're going to take the blue.
So they're going to take the blue receptacles and replace them with the new receptacles.
Okay. On the other topic, I just wanted to get a status, or if the committee's looking into this, and that's the recent legalization of marijuana, and that's with the cultivation, sales, delivery, growth, recreational marijuana. Is the township looking into doing ordinances to basically ban this stuff within the timeline that the new law is requiring? I think it's 180 days. The township has to do something before August 21st. If we don't make that date and no action is done, we're locked in and anybody can sell and do whatever they want to do for full 5 years. We'll be stuck in that situation and reaping the consequences. I wanted to find out if, as a committee looking into this, are we going to adopt similar ordinances like Bridgewater's doing? Because I would hate that Bridgewater has these ordinances and then everybody from Bridgewater starts coming to Bedminster because we're selling marijuana right here on 20206. So just wanted to get some feedback on that.
Great question, Mr. Garcia. So actually later on in tonight's meeting, under new business, we've got discussions of the 3 recently enacted cannabis laws signed by Governor Murphy. So it's something that's on our agenda. So I put this onto our agenda for tonight. And this is actually, I believe this is the first meeting we've had as a township committee since these laws were enacted. So this is our first opportunity to sit together as a township committee and have this discussion. Also, even before these laws were passed, I had been engaging in a email dialogue with the Somerset County prosecutor, Mike Robertson, on the policing effects, how the prosecutor's office sees these laws affecting day-to-day policing, the expungement processing that is going on right now with our municipal court. So we'll sort of put the criminal elements on one side, right? So those are discussions that eventually I've asked the prosecutor to attend a township committee meeting, to take questions on where he's going, where he sees it going. He did send me some frequently asked questions that the AG's office provided, and I've distributed those to all the other TC members. So we've got the criminal issue over here. Then we have the issues that you just discussed, which is currently Bridgewater had an ordinance in place that prohibited the operation of dispensaries, retail dispensaries in Bridgewater. However, since that ordinance was passed prior to the governor signing the cannabis legislation, those ordinances in Bridgewater are null and void. So for any municipality that previously adopted those ordinances prohibiting or restricting the sale of cannabis in their municipalities, they have to do them all over again. Because the way the legislation was adopted, everyone is starting with a clean slate from the date those laws were enacted. So we have that August date in mind. It's certainly something that the Township Committee is going to discuss. I've had discussions with our Township Attorney, John Bellardo, and I've also had some discussions with our Planning Board Attorney as well. So it's something that we're looking into. I can't commit to anything since we haven't had any discussions as a Township Committee, but I can certainly assure you that we will be engaging in those discussions. We do recognize the impact of allowing it and what those dispensaries look like and whether that is something that we want to have in Bedminster, and also certainly being mindful of there's a lot of towns that want the dispensaries. Some of these towns are throwing their arms open, say, come on in. The dispensaries give the municipalities the opportunity to put a 2% surcharge tax, and maybe some municipalities will make some money based upon my review of the matter. It doesn't really look like it's a whole lot of taxes that get written off, but it's certainly something that we will discuss. And certainly from the Township Committee, we will make a decision that is best for Bedminster and for maintaining what we have. And I don't, I should say that I don't want to lay anything out more than that, but it will be available in the area That doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be available here. Now, the one thing you can do, municipalities can prevent the dispensaries from operating and locating in the municipality. Municipalities cannot restrict deliveries. So we're talking about the recycling boxes. Well, there may be deliveries coming in cardboard boxes of cannabis. So, you know, when you empty your package out, you've got cardboard, goes back into the recycling. We can't, the way the law is set up, we can't restrict the delivery, but we can restrict the stores and dispensaries from operating in the town. And that is certainly something we will be looking at.
Thanks for the update. I mean, I was just a little concerned because, you know, now we're going to have, if let's say we did nothing, August 21st crosses its deadline date, and businesses start, pharmacies start to open up, dispensaries, whatever happens. My concern is that having outside traffic coming just to Bedminster, if let's say the scenario that Bridgewater goes ahead with its ordinances, additional traffic coming into our town with the possibility of some people coming to the dispensaries while under the influence. And I have a family, I have kids, and, you know, I have a concern. And that's why I'm bringing this up.
No, I appreciate you bringing that up, and I'm glad that we have it on our agenda tonight. The other thing certainly that municipalities can do is, just as we don't allow smoking in our parks, that is something that's within the control of the municipalities to look at public spaces and the use or ingestion of cannabis products in those public spaces. So our hands are tied on delivery, but we do have other legal options at our disposal. And once again, we will be looking at all those options.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. We have 4 minutes to approve. That's February 22nd, 2021 special meeting, budget work session number 3. We also had a closed session that evening. So we've got February 22nd, 2021 closed session minutes. We have March 1, 2021 Township Committee meeting, regular session minutes, and the March 8th special meeting budget work session 4. Any comments regarding those 4 minutes?
There was a small amendment from Committeeman Hickey to the March 1st minutes. They are not in your book, the revised version. However, it has been updated for the permanent file that we have. So
Okay.
as Mr. Hickey directed. So,
If there's no other questions or comments, may I have your motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Permits and raffles, we have 2 raffles. First is an on-premise 50/50 raffle to benefit St. James School, May 17th, 2020, which I imagine should be 2021, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 811 Rattlesnake Bridge Road, Bedminster. And the second is an off-premise merchandise raffle to benefit St. James School on May 17th, 2021, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 811 Rattlesnake Bridge Road, Bedminster. Any questions or comments regarding those 2 raffles? Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, monthly report discussion by subcommittee chair, Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. We've got historic press coming up this week, so update next time for that. DBW, most of the efforts is really centered around the budget discussion. So again, just working through pavement management issues there. I did want to hit upon a conference call I attended today with Congressman Malinowski and the representatives of our district about the American Rescue Plan and how the money is trickling down to the municipalities for this round. Just quick numbers that were thrown out at the meeting. There was $6.4 billion allocated to New Jersey, $1 billion allocated for cities, which is defined as folks of population centers of 150,000 or more. $1.8 billion was allocated to the counties, and $570 million is making its way to the smaller municipalities, no matter how the size. So we've seen those numbers that they're sort of earmarking is about $780,000 to Bedminster. The end of the plan, it's a half payment now, half payment in a year. The federal treasury has 60 days to cut a check to the state of New Jersey. The state of New Jersey has 30 days to cut checks to the municipalities. The funds can be used for one of four things. Pretty broad. Congressman was commenting about, they try to make it as broad as possible so that the money can be used. It's considered a stimulus, so they want to see the money being put to use. First category would be responding to the economic impacts of COVID, right? So PPE equipment, like second would be to provide premium pay to essential workers based on the number was given $13 an hour more than the going rate. Third category would be replacement of lost revenue. So if you've got areas in your budget line items that didn't come to pass, you can use this money to replenish that. And then the fourth would be capital improvements on water, sewer, or broadband services. I did ask the question of Congressman about broadband services, given all the issues that we're having in the hills. And the response was, I'll get back to you. Part of it was part of the district does not have broadband, evidently. So I think the congressman thought it was maybe geared towards establishing ability to have broadband in the district, but more to follow on that. If there's anything we can do there, obviously we're looking at that. So a couple of questions were posed by some of the other town leaders. One of the questions was, can we use the money in the 2021 budget? One municipality was commenting that with the money, there could be no tax increase to the constituents. Without the money, there would be. So the congressman's going to push to get some guidance out from DCA about whether whether we can take it this year. He seemed to think that that was the whole purpose of doing it. So the expectation on his front certainly is, yes, this is money to be used this year, but he understands the issue. Another question was asked to clarify, we do not have to use the money this year. So it's money lost for last year or money lost for this year. It can be used this year or next year. You have 2 years to use it. But there was no specific guidance as to the approval process, or I don't think it's a matter of submitting invoices. It's money to be used, and I'm sure there's going to be some sort of give back at the end of the 2-year period, but that's more to follow.
Did they talk about that, like give back, so that if the money wasn't used, the municipalities would return it to the federal government?
The question was asked of the congressman about use of the proceeds. Does it have to be in a 1-year period? The answer was no, it's 1 or 2 years. We've tried to make this broad. And then at the end, he said, I'm sure there will be some sort of provision that if at the end of the 2 years, you haven't been able to use this money, that, yeah, there would be a give back. It was said in passing. I don't think it's established yet, but sort of to be expected. That was pretty much it. There's a part of the American Rescue Plan that there's a separate program outside of the 780 that's for school districts. So we could see more relief coming through that vehicle as well. And then it was also mentioned on the call that there was a sub program about bars, restaurants also being included. So this is just the municipal part of the act.
Also, the county is getting
Yes.
a boatload of money. are they subject to the same categories of expenditures or the use of those funds?
Yes, so today on the call, both municipal and county officials, and it was one set of rules. So my answer would be based on what I heard today, yes,
Okay.
it would be. There was also a reference about putting together plans for businesses that were affected. I think some folks on the call were a little bit unsure as to what that looked like. What did that mean? We didn't get great direction on that, but it's another thing that's out there. So we'll have to look at that.
Okay.
And that could also be a county program.
All right, thank you, Doug, for taking that call.
You will. It's interesting.
And that's it for subcommittee reports.
That's it for me. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you,
good.
Mayor.
Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a brief update. We have Board of Health and Board of Ed coming up later this week, so I'll give a report at our next meeting, and you and I have library on Wednesday, so we'll also follow up with a report on that. And that's all I have.
Committeewoman Mareski.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. On March 3rd, the Environmental Commission hosted Christopher Borak, the director of Black Lagoon, who discussed management options for the Bedminster Pond. The group discussed a wide range of options, each option having its own set of pros and cons. So in order to see what best options might be, EC is reaching out to REC to see what its plans are for the pond's use and to review the REC study that was done earlier this year. EC will then present their findings to the Township Committee for our consideration and support. They also discussed a seedling program. We had one a couple years ago that we gave seedlings out at the farmer's market. Commissioner Whit Parker found a private donor, so there won't be any charges for this year. The original one was a state program that the seedlings were given to us. So we're going to do that again. I don't have a specific date, but the seedlings will be distributed again at farmer's market.
Oh, that's great. Did Whit say, did he disclose
He
his,
did not.
his,
He was very
his private
tight-lipped.
donor source for seedlings?
I don't know. Close to the vest, tight-lipped he was, but he did it very quickly.
Question, Renee, if I may?
Yeah.
On the Black Lagoon part,
Yes.
are they looking at one of the options being to trim out and cut out the vegetation as opposed to just treating the water?
Yes, there is a wide range, and I don't want to scare anybody, but it goes, which is why I didn't say it. It goes from doing absolutely nothing, which Raritan Headwaters would like to do so that we could see what the pond is actually doing without any treatment, but we probably won't do that. All the way up to, it's a 7 or 8 acre pond, digging it all out, cleaning it all out. That's about $500,000 worth. So they're not really considering that, but there are several steps in between there. So we'll see where
Very
it comes out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And lastly, speaking of cleaning up, don't forget that it's the 31st annual Raritan Headwater Stream Cleanup on Saturday, April 17th from 9 to 12. You have to register on the website. There will be no walk-ons and social distancing will be strictly monitored. I believe 22A is already filled up, sold out, but there are several spots still in PPAC and Far Hills that have openings. So if anybody wants to join, April 17th, 9 to 12, visit the website.
Great.
And that's what I have.
Okay, thank you. Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to update that the rec department is working on finalizing all summer camp programs and spring basketball. And that camp information will be available on the website as of April 1st to register. And I have a booklet that I wanted to share with you regarding senior services and transportation. I don't know if you want me to report that now or wait until we get to that on new business.
No, no time like the present. So if you're ready to go,
So,
go ahead.
Robin was going to share her screen. I have the booklet with me, but I don't know if you guys have it. Just to go
We
through
got
those. You have it. Okay, great. So this is just a great resource guide for all of our seniors regarding our senior van program that we replaced with even better services through the county. In addition, there's some services on here, utility assistance for our seniors, the RideWise program, the Scoot program, which will take you to more places. And we will be having a Bedminster shopping day on Wednesdays, where our seniors will be taken to Chester, ShopRite Chester, and that little mall area. And I just wanted, there's a New Jersey American Water, there's some utility assistance, pharmacy assistance, food assistance, Jewish family services, which, you know, provides a lot of social services to seniors in the area, and just telephone assistance if they needed anything. And there's phone numbers on there for them. And we are going to send out actually this particular pamphlet so that they have a paper copy and they can just maybe stick it somewhere in a drawer so that they have it when they need it, all of our seniors. So we just want to make sure that in addition to just the transportation program, it's additional services that our residents can benefit from. That's all. So I just want to look through that. I just wanted to kind of keep you updated on that.
Gina, what's the plans for distribution of this information?
So we're gonna hit them 3 times. First with a little, our seniors, we're gonna make sure that the information goes out 3 times. You tend to remember things when you're presented with them 3 times. I'm a teacher, I know that. So we're going to be sending out a postcard first with some information. Then we're going to be sending this booklet out in the mail. And then we're going to be following up with a flyer with our particular senior shopping day. So we're just waiting on one more thing from the county, but otherwise that's the plan of action, that we're gonna send 3 things out to hit everybody up 3 times so they're very aware.
And who's the mailing list?
Robin has a mailing list of all the people that we would send it out to for our senior van program.
Okay, because there's a lot of really good information you guys put in here. So I was thinking even some people in the hills might find this really useful.
So to your point, Renee, you're absolutely right. So any senior can utilize these programs. It doesn't necessarily, it's not income determined, except for 1 or 2 things like utility assistance and things like that are determined based on your income. But our transportation services and a lot of most of the services in here are for seniors regardless of income. So you might have a senior that qualifies to ride the van and they just don't drive anymore, and it has nothing to do with their income. So yeah, absolutely, all of our seniors would benefit from this.
We have one major stumbling block with this program. I'll let Robin tell you what it is.
Yeah, so we've been working with the county to try to get an agreement established and the whole of this with county council. So we're ready to go. Transportation wanted us to start March 1st. That was our target date. Beyond March 1st. So we're still pressing on a daily basis to get the
Have they indicated any?
so backed up, I guess.
Okay.
As you can tell by our other.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
Mr. Bellardo had another matter that he was dealing with county council and had a similar delay, so.
Okay, and so once again, just as we talked about the recycling, so I've sent some emails to the county administrator. So if there's gonna be a holdup, let me know if that requires me trying to nudge them a little more.
Yeah, it's been 2 months. We've been waiting for this agreement to show up.
Right, we've been working on this, so. And that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Reach for the light.
Great job, Gina. This is great.
Thank you,
Robin,
Gina.
good job.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you,
Robin,
Gina.
that was mostly Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah.
Well done.
If we had the hills open, I'd say, give me a stack of them. I drop them off to all the HVM, all the master associations, but
Well, we would definitely would want to do that, Renee. So thank you.
Okay, so for my committee report, Land Use Board has not had meetings in let's see, so far in March. So March, we've had no meetings, but we do have a relatively robust April planned. So there are some applications that are certainly on target for April. Farmers Market, we have a meeting tomorrow night. We are all the registration packets. I finalized those last weekend. Robin sent them out, or Robin and Neil sent them out last week. And so we already have some responses from vendors. And so we are actually now in the process of selecting from the vendors who've already responded, as well as a reminder to the other vendors who have yet to respond. So that is ongoing. We have a meeting coming up with the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. That's later in March to talk about, one of the tasks that we had asked is the use of the funds in the discretionary accounts and deploying those for a variety of resources and making sure that if we need to amend our affordable housing spending plan, that we get the recommendations now so that Mr. Bellardo can then make the revisions, have the township committee endorse them, and get also sign off from Fair Share Housing Center, so that completes the spending plan, and then we can open up the funds where they're needed, including with the fire. So we've got some residents who were displaced, and the question came up is, what in the affordable housing spending plan can be deployed to help those folks. And one issue came up is condo association dues, which actually fits within one of the programs that's already in the spending plan. So
Several of the fire victims did take the application and have submitted it, so.
great. And let's see, we don't have that on. Yeah, we do have one of those programs coming up under one of our resolutions later in tonight. So that's, as we said before, it's one thing to have the money in the spending plan, right? That's great, but it's way better to actually deploy those resources and put them to use. That is a much better effectuation. And that's my monthly report. So, Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
And Ms. Sullivan, is this?
This is my last.
This is your last administrator's report?
Wow.
Wow.
Aren't you supposed to send on Zoom? Aren't you supposed to send up like fire?
So I will be
Fireworks or
participating via Zoom for the April 5th and the April 19th meeting, but this will be my last in-person meeting. Feeling a little weird. Robin and I, as well as Ken Rogers, the code official, and our HR consultant, Devin Karcher, held interviews last week for the position of taco and assistant taco, and we had another interview today. We hope to finish up interviews and discussion of our candidates this week and bring to the Township Committee a recommendation for those two positions at Monday's special budget work session. So hopefully we will have those two positions filled in early April. So we're moving forward with that. We had a nice group of candidates to look at, so it was good. With that, we did meet today with Inform HR with Christina and also our representative Devin, with all our department heads, introduced everybody. It was very nice. So it's great to send an email, but it's nice to see a face. So everyone here got to meet them in person. We did a big Zoom meeting here in this meeting room. It was very nice. With the taco and assistant taco position hopefully being filled by early April, we'd like to keep moving forward and post the deputy clerk position with Robin moving up, taking her test soon. And the finance clerk position with Diane Gibson retiring. And also Diane is the Board of Health Secretary, so we need to post the Board of Health Secretary position. And also the zoning officer position will be available. So we'd like to move forward with all those positions. We have ads drafted and job descriptions reviewed. And as long as you're okay with it, we'd like to move forward with them as well. So things are coming on fast. So lots of new things. The special meeting, Mr. Stevenson requested to have a special meeting on the 30th, an information session for affordable housing. My question to you is, would that be a special meeting for township committee that we would need to notice?
No, I don't think it's a committee meeting. I just wanted to make sure when I said noticed, it was noticed to
Well,
the community.
well, when you said notice, I wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No, it's not, no. It's
So
not
we
like
can do a
quorum.
blast out to people that it's on,
Yeah.
but if all members of the township committee wanted to participate, I need to
Well, I
notice
don't-
it as a special meeting.
I don't want to speak for you. You're more than welcome to show up. So you tell me. I mean, I'll be there. I assume, Mayor, you'll be there. If either anybody else is showing up by phone, then maybe you
Yeah, if
should.
more than two of you plan to participate and have conversation, I should notice it.
I like to listen in, just to, you know.
So
Yeah.
You want me to
should.
notice
agree.
it just so that, just as a special meeting, so
Yeah, why
that
don't
if
you do
everyone
that,
does,
just so that, yeah.
we're covered.
I'd like to be there. I don't think I'll participate, but I'd like to
Right.
hear what this group
Mhm.
Right, but
Brings
if
out.
you wanted to chime in with conversation or comment, this way everyone's
for
covered.
cover. Okay.
That's great. Good
Okay.
catch.
And that's at 7 o'clock on the 30th?
Yes. I was going to save that for new business, but yes.
I'm sorry, I don't
No,
want to
no,
take your
no. I'm glad you
thunder.
brought it up. No.
Okay, we will notice then that as a special meeting. And then, you know, as the mayor said, this is my last in-person meeting, but I'll still be here via Zoom for the next 2 and 8.
We want to do,
Still
we've got a
sad.
couple- we have 3 or 4 budget meetings coming up.
One, we have one.
Oh, one. Oh,
One.
that's right. Not 3 or 4.
One.
Wishful thinking.
With the new money, we might have to redo the budget.
Actually, after the last budget meeting, I think we ended up at a pretty good place. I don't want to throw in any final numbers, but we're okay. I think we're reaching our goal. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Suspense.
Cliffhanger.
Discussion on introduced ordinances. We have none. Introduction of ordinances. We have none. Public hearing of ordinances. We have none. We do have 4 items on the consent agenda. Anyone have a request to pull anything off the consent agenda?
On 12A, I mean, is that an opportunity to engage with the county? Is that, I'm all for putting it through on a consent agenda, but if we're talking about having a discussion with them on recycling, should we be proceeding with that or
Well, I think this,
amending it later?
I think that's something that we're going to develop later.
Yeah,
So
so
we
do
would
it,
advise-
amend it. I'm fine with that. I just want to raise it.
Right, I think if we want to add to it or have a special something.
Yeah.
I think we can do that in addition to this
Yeah.
agreement.
No
This is
worries.
the normal agreement we do every year.
Then
Yeah,
then let's leave it on.
Just make sure that we actually do have a recycling contract in place.
Right.
So we don't.
If
don't
we
have a
miss
gap-
a week,
don't have
it'll be
gap in
a
recycling.
disaster.
Yep,
Right.
I agree.
I want to take a step back.
Okay, so any other questions on the consent agenda? If not, may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
This would be a roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so the resolutions that are not on the consent agenda, the first resolution is Resolution 2021-034, authorizing the provision of a $5,000 loan pursuant to the Township of Bedminster Affordable Assistance Program for the purchase of an affordable housing unit located at 19 Parkside Road.
So this is our first. Previously, these were managed by BHHC, but now that the spending plan monies have been returned back to the township, we are now working with CGP&H, our new administrative agent. And in order to do that, we have to work with a purchase order and a resolution in order to authorize any payments out of the trust account. So I have to say, Heather, our person, did an awesome job. She sent over the agreement. She sent over a resolution already prepared. It was so easy, so smooth. We actually, you'll see a purchase order. I think it's in the mayor's folder, or it could be in Doug's folder. I'm not sure which one. That the payment is actually going to the title company. It doesn't go to the individual. It goes to the title company. In this particular case, or if it was dues assistance, it would be going to the HOA, management company, that type of thing. We don't write a check to an individual. Okay, or if it was rental assistance, which is another program, we would be writing it to the landlord. But this is our first of many, I'm sure. And it went very smooth. So this way they have a record of when our meetings are, when they have to get everything to us in order to get it through our purchase orders and get it on our bill list in enough time. So I think the closing on this particular property isn't until the 31st of this month. So we're not rushing. Everything is done in a very nice, timely way.
Great.
It's great to see CGP&H just sounds like they're in and things are happening. So it's great.
Yeah, it is a very good sign.
So, we don't mention any names. We just gave you an address, but the paperwork will show more detail.
Okay, may we motion to approve resolution 2021-034?
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Resolution 2021-040 establishes the Township DPW, Department of Public Work employee salaries effective January 1, 2019. 2019? Ms. Sullivan, please explain.
As you know, our Public Works Department was negotiating through the Teamsters for a union contract. That negotiation went on through the end of 2018, all of 2019, and most of 2020. And towards the end of 2020, the DPW severed their relationship with the Teamsters and are no longer working with a union towards a contract. With that being said, Robin Ray and myself, after our last meeting, we discussed it with the Township Committee, had some direction. We reached out to our labor attorney just to make sure that we were appropriate in moving forward with now compensating those DPW employees who did not get a raise in 2019 and did not get a raise in 2020. And so he's met with us and said we should do a resolution for 2019, and then we should do a second resolution for 2020. And then we just have to make sure that our current salary ordinance still has them within the proper range, which they all are. I will tell you, when Mrs. Ray went through all the numbers last week when she was putting this resolution together, she did note that we will need to make the updates that we want to make to the ordinance, the salary ordinance, to accommodate DPW before we do any new raises for them, because they
Need to catch up.
the limitations,
Right.
They've caught up, but now we need an adjustment.
Okay, so just to reiterate, when the DPW opted to pursue the Teamsters and negotiate a collective bargaining agreement, during that time frame, they were taken out of the regular salary provisions that we have here in town. So that took them out of the annual raises that the township usually administers. So because of the way those negotiations went, 2019, 2020, while they were still working with the Teamsters, there was no raise. Had they proceeded with the Teamsters and had there been an effective or effectuated collective bargaining agreement, whatever we would have worked out with the collective bargaining agreement would have been retroactive to when they opted to pursue the union. By foregoing the union and severing that relationship with the Teamsters, well, our employees were now stuck with having 2 years of no raises because of the decision they had made. So this resolution takes care of the raises that they would or they did miss in the 2019 to 2020 calendar year. And we have another resolution coming up, resolution 2021-041, which will cover the 2020 calendar year. So we've got 2 resolutions, and this would make them, essentially, if we adopt both resolutions, this would put them where they would have been consistent with the raises that the Township Committee authorized for all staff in those years. So any questions or comments regarding where we are, how we ended up here?
And just to clarify, it's not that we're just bringing them up to a level, right? We're going backwards in
Yes.
time and making the payments.
So the 1, 2, 3, 4 current DPW employees that missed 2019 raises and 2020 raises, they'll get a check in a flat amount,
Right.
right? That will, one, will address their, the lost raise for 2019. And maybe there'll be 2 checks or 1 check that will cover the 2020 raise as well.
And just to clarify too, this will not be money that we're raising in 2021. So the 2019 raise, we had set money aside from the 2019 budget to cover those costs. And we did the same thing in 2020. So this isn't any new money that we're,
Right.
putting on top.
Yeah, because back in 2019 and in 2020, we anticipated, hey, whether it goes the union route or it doesn't, there's going to be some makeup funds that we need to provide. So this money was budgeted in 2019 and again budgeted in 2020. It was up to the DPW employees, and they've elected to sever that relationship, so that puts them back to the normal salary increases. And this resolution covers 2019. Any other questions regarding that resolution? If not, may we have a motion to approve resolution 2021-040?
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. Next resolution is 2021-041, and this sets the DPW salaries for calendar year 2020. Or not, actually not calendar year, but effective July 1, 2020. So it's the same, brings them up to, really essentially brings them up to this year, December 31st, 2020. And then whatever we do with salaries for 2021 would apply to all non-union members, which would include these folks.
And for 2020, the reason why it's July is because we took a wait and see approach to see how things shook out. And when we gave our adjustments, it was effective as of July.
Right. It's a happy year.
Right. Any further questions or comments? Maybe a motion to approve resolution 2021-041.
So moved.
Second?
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. And may we have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. And following up on Mr. Garcia's comment, we have hit new business. And we do have an item for new business, which is discussion of the 3 recently enacted cannabis laws by Governor Murphy. John Velardo, are you muted, not muted?
I am here, Mayor. Good evening.
Oh, good evening, John. So you want to cover quickly the 3 laws that are now in place?
I do. Let's start first with the law that I think is most pertinent to the Township Committee. And that's the law that Mr. Garcia raised. And essentially, he was correct in indicating we have a window in which the Township Committee could enact an ordinance that would either allow or prohibit, or a combination of both various of the classifications. There are classifications concerning cultivation, manufacturing, wholesaling, retailing, distributing, stores. All of those can either be allowed or can be prohibited. As you indicated also earlier, Mayor, the one thing that the township cannot prohibit is deliveries to residences. So that is really the main Governor Murphy law that is for action or other follow-up by the township committee. The other two laws really focus more, not so much on township committee areas of law, but a police enforcement including with respect to cannabis, which includes both marijuana and hashish, and it decriminalizes certain of those, provides for various expungements of prior matters. There is a series of warnings that must be issued by the police to underage individuals that are caught with cannabis. There has to be a warning system set up. There is a progressive standard that would follow repeated violations. There will also be a system for expungement of past actions. And again, the later two, dealing with expungements and police enforcement, are really something on the criminal as opposed to the civil side, and certainly will be dealt with by our local prosecutor and through the police department. So I'm really here tonight to talk about and answer any questions concerning what I would consider to be the zoning ordinance law that the governor has enacted.
So John, since, and that actually your last statement sort of may answer my question, but if there was any action by the township to restrict dispensaries, that would be considered a land use ordinance?
I do. I think it could be considered a land use ordinance rather than an ordinance that would be related to public health, safety, and welfare. But that's something I'm still studying and deciding what the best way to do that would be, rather than a general prohibition under the police or what I would call the general ordinances. I think it falls more likely to be under the zoning ordinances.
So the distinction being, and you know, I try not to play lawyer up here, but the distinction being, if it's a planning or zoning ordinance, it gets referred back to the planning board for consistency determination with the master plan. If it is a public health or safety ordinance, then the sole jurisdiction is the township committee without the referral back to the planning board.
That would be correct, Mayor. And you were talking about before, you know, we have parks, and one of the things that Bridgewater did was prohibit the, you know, smoking of cannabis and use of cannabis in parks. And of course that is prohibited now and will be prohibited in the future. However, we might want to, under guise of police powers, make our laws more specific in regard thereto. That would not be a zoning ordinance. That would be a general welfare ordinance.
Questions for John? I mean, this is certainly something it's going to be ongoing, and I think we'll be dealing with this for several meetings, but
I got one, if I may. John, how much flexibility do we have to split hairs, if you will? In other words, could we take the position that, hey, I'd support a business that was strictly a delivery business, so it's no point of sale. You know, they're sending a car out onto the road and they're making deliveries all over the county, but at the end of the day, their truck comes back and it parks at the business, and that's it. And could we do that, or you know, once you agree to do something like that, you're subjected to all of it?
No, I think you can pick which uses you want to allow or prohibit. So that's, you know, it's not an all or none type opt out. But again, unless you do something by, I think it's August 21 or 22, it's 5 months from the effective date of the governor signing the legislation, there is a 5-year period in which you can not take action. So, for example, Committeeman Stevenson, if someone were to say we want to allow a delivery business to exist, one arguably could do that, while saying on the other hand, we don't want dispensaries, we don't want cultivators, we don't want processors, manufacturers, or any of the other uses.
And do you happen to know if the cultivation side of it is, I mean, we're not talking about having open fields in Bedminster of marijuana plants, right? I mean, it's all got to be under lock and key. Most of the facilities I've seen are in these suburban
Greenhouses.
Complexes, you know, and they're in the basement and they're under grow lamps in the basement. I mean, right? This is all behind brick and mortar, right?
Well, there's a 5-member cannabis commission that the governor has appointed, and there's some debate now whether that's going to be increased to 7 members. But the cannabis commission, within, I believe, 180 days, is supposed to promulgate regulations concerning the law. So we'll have more particular guidance once the regulations are generated. And as I said, there are 2 lawyers in my firm that have vastly greater knowledge of this than I do, because they're part of our cannabis law department. One of the lawyers was actually involved in crafting the original legislation and authoring that ultimately was not adopted by the state senate and governor, which then prompted the referendum. So I have 2 individuals that are really, no pun intended, very deep into the weeds on this. And certainly if the committee wanted to hear from either one, I have no qualms in having them participate in a future meeting to answer all of these questions. The 3 laws are rather lengthy.
Right.
And I focused more on the municipal side than the side that doesn't concern a town attorney, which is, really for most part, the prosecutor, the police enforcement, and expungement, which involves the courts.
John, you said that there's 180 days to promulgate regs. What was the start date from that? Because I'm just trying to go forward in my head, the 180 days expiring versus when we need to take action.
I'd have to get back to you on that. I've got to pull the law out and look at when the date for promulgating the regs is, and I could get that to you tomorrow, Committeeman Stevenson, along with everyone else.
Even if it was February, 180 days is 6 months. You're beyond the August 1st deadline.
Yeah, I believe it's 100.
You need to make a call before knowing what the regs are even going to say.
Exactly. So to your point, that currently with medical dispensaries, the grow facilities tend to be in urban areas, and oftentimes they are reusing old factories. And I know from dealing with this from certain brownfield sites, and also from solar energy, because they're putting solar installations because of the electrical demands for grow lights. But it may be, with going through the legalization, that you do end up with, instead of indoor facilities, you may start seeing outdoor facilities.
Greenhouses or outdoor.
Right? We don't know yet. So remember your comment about Trenton on March 1st, right? We're talking about the affordable housing obligations. Well, similar, you get to August to put an ordinance in place or not. And then your hands are tied for the next 5 years. So yes, we have to anticipate the current status of how cannabis is grown, distributed at a wholesale basis, how it's sold on a retail basis, and how it's then used. We have to anticipate the current situation, then we have to anticipate that changing. Because if you get one time between now and August to put ordinances in place, we have to think expansively and contemplate, well, What if this happens? Is this something we want, or is this something we really don't want to happen in Bedminster? So that we can have the properly structured ordinance. So this is why I don't think this is a, you know, we're ready to react on a reflexive basis tonight. I think this is going to require some discussion with the police chief, Chief Rock, with John Bellardo. Perhaps, John, yeah, I know you had mentioned that your office could do a presentation to township committee members, maybe some reps from staff and from the planning board. So that's probably something I think we'd like to take you up on that offer.
Yes, Mayor, we did a presentation for a neighboring municipality recently. We are offering Zoom presentations. We have been doing them throughout the state for various towns and groups. And as I said, 2 of my fellow lawyers who are in that department have been participating in those and would be able to answer any and all questions, including those that Committeeman Stevenson had. So if that is something that you want to set up, we certainly can coordinate that, because I said they are deeply in the weeds on that, have read the huge stack of laws that have come out, and pretty much know this stuff A to Z.
John, when you say no pun intended, that really means you did not intend the pun. Just saying.
Whichever way you wish to read it.
Chief Rock, you know, as we start this, well, really tonight is the kickoff of this topic. Any thoughts from your end on the policing side?
Well, the policing side is still developing. Obviously, the way the law was written, we're still trying to not understand it, but get in line with the requirements. Whereas if you come upon an underage person, that they get a warning. And, you know, the warning form is supposed to be coming out from, you know, a standardized form from the Attorney General's office. We haven't seen that yet. So the law was signed on the 22nd of February. And, you know, every day goes by and we haven't seen anything with a standardized warning form. So we have our own ready to go in case we need to use it. And, you know, as the law stands, my understanding, you know, you can't look, or you understand that down in Trenton are trying to rewrite the bill where it comes to what they did to law enforcement with, you know, you don't notify a parent upon the first warning. On the second warning, if it's the same individual, you will issue another warning at that time. You notify the parents that, you know, the juvenile had contact with the police and they possibly had marijuana or alcohol on them. And then, you know, they get a third and subsequent warning. So, I mean, it's very difficult to read through the 240-page marijuana legislation bill, and then the companion bill dealing with the underage statute, which they threw underage alcohol into, is about another 46 pages. So I think every police department throughout the state of New Jersey, it's a learning curve.
And Chief, and maybe you know this, there was the status of action that if police officers did not necessarily follow those strict requirements in the legislation, that those officers could be subject to criminal action.
Oh,
Sure. So it comes down to that. It basically takes away standard police protocol that, you know, I'm a parent, everybody's a parent, and if we have contact with an underage individual, that I think it's our obligation to rectify the problem on site and notify the parent that your, you know, child, I'll call it, or young adult had contact with the police. But the way the law is written, we cannot do that, or yes, we face a third-degree crime.
And also there is, besides that, as the chief is well aware, there is a civil side of the law that would deprive the police of qualified immunity. So there is presently a talk among certain legislatures that perhaps this law, in terms of its impact on police enforcement, went too far and should be amended. Whether that is going to happen is a big question, but it certainly has a very draconian effect, including on the ability of police officers, if they see a minor involved in the public use of cannabis, and the minor puts the cannabis in his or her pockets, the police cannot search. The police could ask the minor for his or her name. The minor could say Mickey Mouse, and the police can't go any further to determine whether the individual is Mickey Mouse or someone else. So we're living in a brave new world, and whether that world is a good one remains open to debate.
So I just want to follow up on something else that Mr. Garcia mentioned, which is, Bridgewater bans it and Bedminster allows it. You got folks coming in. Let's be mindful of where Bedminster is located. 78, 287, 202, 206, Route 22 just down there, Route 80 just up there. All these roads connect, and they all run through or touch Bedminster. So from a policing standpoint, from folks coming off the highways to get to places, we certainly have, we know what happens, right? We've had issues with our parks and our public spaces and parking lots in town. And, I think we've got to be mindful of all of this as we consider how Bedminster should react with what we have available to us, right? They're not giving us a whole lot of opportunity. We do control our parks. We do control our public spaces, so we can enact rules regarding those spaces, and we control zoning. So whether it's growing, so whether it's cultivation or dispensaries, we have some control over how Bedminster deals with this situation. So I definitely want to, John, if you could line up Melissa or your other partner, and we can put us down for that seminar. I think that'd be useful. And John, is that something that we have to limit township committee attendees?
If you don't participate and ask questions, which is probably not going to happen, you're probably going to ask questions.
Not with this.
Then you need to limit it to 2 governing body members. That's not to say we couldn't do a separate seminar at a later date with 2, or the Zoom seminar could be recorded. But we do need to limit it to 2, so it's not subject to the Open Public Meetings Act. So in municipalities,
do it during a regular, could we just do it as a part of a regular meeting?
There are various aspects of this that I consider and we consider subject to attorney-client privilege, and you could do it at a regular meeting. That's your choice. We've been doing it in subgroups because of attorney-client privilege, so there could be an open, frank, and candid discussion. But if you wish to do it in public, we certainly could do that. We could bring people in our group and socially distance at town hall there.
Okay, well, let's, John, let's you and I have some discussions about this, and we'll figure out how we present this.
Either route that you wish to pursue, we can accommodate.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Any other questions or comments for John or the chief?
Just want to mention, Mayor, the Board of Health has also been pretty proactive. They have looked at resolutions, understanding that those have been superseded by the current law, but they looked at resolutions that municipalities had passed with respect to medical marijuana and now recreational marijuana. one of their concerns is consumption, and it's not just consumption in public places, but the forms of consumption, meaning it's not just lighting up, but it could be gummies, it could be marijuana included in baked goods. So how do we look at the breadth of how this is being consumed and ensure public health and safety? So that's kind of what they're looking at. They've had a set of conversations. They'll be bringing some information to us that we include in our decision-making as we go forward.
Mr. Garcia, you have a comment? I know this is something we had discussed earlier.
Yes, I guess for John. I had a question about the delivery aspect of marijuana. And I refer to the New Jersey State League of Municipalities. I assume you're familiar with that organization, or?
I am, because I am associate counsel to the New Jersey League of Municipalities and have been so for 20 years.
Great. Then on their website, which is confusing me, when I go to the cannabis legalization on the page there, they discuss the, I guess, the ability to prohibit or limit delivery services. They mention that throughout the page, and they did mention that in a March 2nd memo that they sent out discussing section 31B, which allows municipalities by ordinance to prohibit the operation of these different classes, and one of them being delivery services anywhere in the municipality. So just maybe I'm reading it wrong, and maybe you can kind of correct me on
Let
this.
me clarify that you're reading it correct. If we do not want to allow a delivery store to be located within Bedminster, where the trucks or cars leave, almost like a pizza place, we can prohibit a delivery store. What you cannot prohibit is residents accepting deliveries from services outside the municipality.
Great. Thanks for the clarity.
Happy to do so.
And that is consistent with my understanding of the legislation as well. So if a resident, there was no dispensary in Bedminster, none in Bridgewater, Fort Hills, or Berners Township, but for argument's sake, let's say Somerville has one, and they've got a delivery service. We can prohibit the delivery from the Somerville dispensary to a Bedminster resident.
That is correct.
And my understanding of the economics of that is that all of the revenue from that transaction would then get sent down to Somerville.
Yes, because that's where the dispensary is located. And the revenue, the surcharge is a 2% surcharge, or up to a 2% surcharge on top of whatever sales tax the state is already charging. Once again, I do not think, I think the state's idea that this was going to be a huge windfall of tax revenue based upon what happened in other states. I think they'll may be disappointed in those returns, and if the tax rates go up too much, puts you right back to the black market. And guess what? Under the black market, the penalty for having marijuana that you didn't buy from a licensed dispensary, it's not going to be that much. So, if the taxes go up too high, you go elsewhere, you go to the street.
My
Chief,
colleague's opinion, and he's done national seminars on this, is that with respect to the Somerset Hills area, in his opinion, it would be unlikely that these particular cannabis classifications and uses would locate here. That's not to say that it could happen, but it's more likely that these uses are going to locate in urban areas. And certainly the bill with respect to what are called micro businesses really is seeking to steer these to urban areas, because areas with large populations with a high crime index, believe it or not. And residents that live there are given preference. So you're really going to see a lot of this because the legislation is doing so in terms of micro business classification. You're going to see a lot of this in heavily populated urban areas.
The way it's set up now, yes, but once again, your hands are tied for 5 years.
Yes.
You have to anticipate it opening up. And while yes, some of it is micro business, certainly the national players in the cannabis industries are not micro businesses. Those are well-funded corporations that put a lot of money into legalizing it on a state-by-state basis and also push at the federal level. So
yeah, so I
a lot of money behind the legalization process, and it's not going to be, you know, some mom and pop smoke shop. It's going to be, you know, Corporation X that's creating a dispensary. And once again, 78, 287, 202, 206, 22. You know, I could see someone saying, hey, this is great. Look, you know.
Crossroads, yeah.
Crossroads, right. That is Crossroads. So we have to anticipate that whatever is in place now under these programs or the way Trenton envisions those dispensaries being located may not be the same in a year. But if you don't have your ordinances ready, you're out of luck.
And I am recommending to my towns that if they don't want it, they need to move forward. So that is certainly a hot button issue.
Okay. Chief, any, before we go off this new business item, any further remarks?
No, I mean, the only remark is that, you know, it was decriminalized, marijuana is decriminalized, but it's really not legal. Unless you have a medical marijuana card, there is no place to purchase it legally. So, you know, if you have it, we will seize it, and we just have to play by the new rules when it comes to underage possession.
All right. Old business. We've covered the affordable housing information session. Doug, is there anything else you want to add to that? There would be updates from Sal DeFazio on the status of the litigation.
Yes, Mr. DeFazio will be there, as will representatives of KPG&H, CPG&H. And it's really going to be a rerun from the first run through. Some people were asking about that on social media today. It's nothing new. There are some new folks being lassoed in because they were missed in the first round. So Mr. DeFazio could talk about that procedurally, but it's all going to the same end result. So it's really just going to be a repeat of the first session with our limitation going from 100 to 500.
Great.
They can find the link on the website.
Hope so.
Well, we don't have a link.
We don't have it yet.
But
You
you,
want the old link or the current, the one coming up?
We'll have a new link.
sell the new,
We'll set a new link.
okay.
The one, the original still posted, right?
You mean the?
The first session. is
So
still
the
posted.
session, but the session is posted from the last time, but we'll have a new link to the Zoom, the new Zoom session that. we-
Right. But over social media, I'm suggesting folks, if they want to get a baseline of knowledge, to go to our website
It's still
and then
there.
look at the first.
I forget the date, but it's
Session,
still,
yeah.
it's still there. Yes.
Covered a lot of stuff there.
Okay, COVID-19, we've covered that. Pluckman Park. This is primarily about the inspections and the condition of Pluckman Park. This is the senior project on down at Pluckman. Doug, do you have an update? Sure.
So Colin and I did a walkthrough with some folks last week. They're prospective purchasers. We got permission from the current owner to show them around and walk the property with them. I will tell you that the overall condition of the property has improved from where it was a year or two ago. I think that that's a direct reflection of the current property manager. In interacting with some of the residents there, it's clear that the current property managers made a concerted effort to reach out and talk to people and understand, what's pushing everybody's buttons and trying to address it. So in that regard, I'm encouraged, and it was a good signal to see for sure. And we'll see what happens. I mean, it's, some of the issues there are self-evident. There's some work that needs to be done. It's not ideal. We've got some deferred maintenance that needs to get addressed, and it's beyond the point of, I think, of just slapping a coat of paint on. Requires some.
Now, there was a comment that you had made to me that the residents seem to have an affinity towards the property manager.
Yes.
Which was not always the case.
Quite the opposite.
So there's a new property manager, and if you just want to talk about, how you see that interaction.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the predecessors, I think, were maybe less willing to sit and listen. I think that's one of the things that Abe is his name. Abe does very, very well is he listens to the residents. In fact, one of the former president, I guess, of the association, de facto president, was mentioning just that he'll actually take the time and listen to the issue. And sometimes it's a very easy little fix, but you just got to get there. And he's just very patient. I do think he's playing with, a limited deck. There's not a lot of revenue being generated there. But I'm certainly encouraged by some of the little things. It's the connectivity of the concrete. It's no longer up, down, up, down, up, down. It's relatively flat. You got folks there with walkers. You got folks there that have struggled to be mobile. So that was encouraging. The dumpster areas are being enclosed now. It's tightened up, but it doesn't address the elephant in the room, and that is that the structures themselves are struggling. I mean, you've got some boards that are popping off the buildings. I think some of them maybe have original paint on them. And we're going on, that was built in the early 90s, right? Mid 90s. So it's time that something happened there. But
speaking of paint, what's the status of the paint?
So the yellow has gone from neon electric yellow to more like a banana yellow. And we're told that the banana yellow is sort of what we're.
I did notice the difference.
Right, there is a difference.
It wasn't blinding.
Is it historical banana?
I suppose so. If the
just
historical
before it
folks had
turned the
yellow
red
in their
dots.
palettes.
It's not so
look,
green.
Right. I mean, the first one was clearly like highway paint, reflective yellow. And this is more of, like I say, a banana yellow, similar to the old Mill Inn, if anybody remembers that back in the day. It used to stand out. So, I mean, there are two buildings that have the yellow color on it. The rest of them are gray, maroon, blue. In a perfect world, we'd love to see the yellow get swapped out, but at least it's not the, Christmas vacation, like iridescent yellow. So, and Abe, again, he recognized it, right? I mean, it's not, he didn't run away from it. He said, you're absolutely right. We'll change it. So he got on it. So I think you got a receptive manager that's willing to do what he can. The question is, what can he do?
Right.
And one of the things, just thinking about in my mind, is the affordable housing an option? And it's not really, because you've got a private owner and, they're locking themselves into their own deal. It's not as open to the public as the other units are in town. But I did communicate with Heather at CBG&H, and she is running down some leads for us, some grant funds with the state. So she's going to get back to me, and I'm going to convey that information over to the group to just see if they can start, it's like a jigsaw puzzle, right? Put it all together, and hopefully the economics of it work out. But that's really what's being the driving force here, is the economics of the site. But you've got things like, gutters, right? Gutters are made to take water away from a structure because water is not good for a structure. And you look up at the structures and you've got a gutter going to nowhere and a piece that's not even connected, just hanging there. I mean, that problem is only exacerbating the underlying problem. So before too long, it's not going to be just replacing the outside wood on a frame. The frame's going to be rotten. So, there's some challenges there. It's not no easy answer.
Utilities.
Mayor, thank you. You want me to talk about JCP now? Well, there's no update on that. But that's actually probably a good thing because again, we had a big windstorm last night and I'm not aware of any outages. So.
Good.
Yes, exactly.
It was windy.
Knock on wood. Do you want me to talk about Altice for a second?
Sure, yes.
So Altice, we did post an update on the website last week, just a couple of highlights. Altice has been dealing with what we know are congestion problems by doing node splitting. So it's how many houses are served by a node, and those are being split in a number of cases here in Bedminster, and that construction work is ongoing. And they're also dealing with some of the congestion issues, or excuse me, capacity issues with respect to trying to increase the current capacity of the system to provide additional capacity for all users. We have also asked them to look into the viability of fiber to the home, and they've committed to examine that from a time and cost perspective. So the construction is ongoing. I know they recently secured the approval from the Hills Highland HOA, so they can do some additional construction, which they're anticipating will be completed by early to mid-April. Also, since I know there's a lot of folks that have been unhappy with the cable service and wanted to vet their complaints not only to us, but to other authorities, just a reminder, the BPU will be holding a hearing tomorrow, the 16th at 10 a.m. So folks can share their comments with the BPU, which is the governing authority with respect to cable companies. You can go to www.nj.gov/BPU to find out the registration and login information for that hearing and share your thoughts. But I do have to say that Altice has been responsive to our requests, and we will continue to hold their feet to the fire to make sure that our residents' concerns are being addressed and the necessary upgrades are being made.
Great. Thank you. Bedminster Senior Van Program, but Gina, anything further that you want to add to this? Or you're good with the presentation from earlier?
No, I'm good with the presentation from earlier. I just wanted everybody to see where we are and all the information that we're providing and let them know how it's going to be rolled out as soon as we hear back from the county.
Great, thank you. So we have Township Committee comments. We do have an executive session. We may be taking action following that executive session. So we will go through Township Committee comments, and then we will take a motion and adjourn to executive session. We will return to executive session where we may consider a resolution. We may act on it, we may not. And then we'll adjourn the entire meeting after that. So let's start with Township Committee comments. Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Judy, you sort of surprised me because in my mind we would be getting together from beyond today. So when you said that this would be your last meeting, I said, oh boy, well, I better recognize her because it's the last time I'm going to have you here. So what can I tell you, Judy? You know, when I decided to run for this position, you know, the hardest part wasn't the campaign per se. It was, you know, after winning, saying, oh my God, now I got to actually go do this thing. And day one, you were like, I'm here to help you, whatever you need. I'm here for you. I'm your resource. And I can't tell you how comforting that was for me. And I'm sure that the folks that came before me felt the same way. So, you know, personally, I will miss you dearly. I think you're an incredible resource. Your diligence and your years and years of hard work, you know, you've left Bedminster better than you found it. I think that is the tried and true, you know, benchmark. But for me personally, I'll miss you. Your historical knowledge. I wish you the best. I hope you hit them straight. I hope you hit all your putts, and I hope you invite me down to Florida so we can play together. But I really, really will miss you, and I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much for everything. That's it.
Committeeman Hickey.
I always say, Mayor, it's hard to follow Committeeman Stevenson, but yes, just to echo his comments. And for folks on the call and folks who may be listening in, you may not realize how much Judy does in a day. And it's soup to nuts. I mean, the woman should have a pair of roller skates, the way she is serving the town, the community, our constituents. It's amazing. And I know you've been doing the Vulcan Mind Meld with Miss Ray, who already has an incredible amount of experience, but thank you, Judy, for all you do. And I'm thank you from the residents for, even when before I was on committee, just being able to call the township and getting a straight answer and a service and a quick response. You exemplify customer service. So thank you for all you
That's
do.
what we do every day.
You do it, and you do it amazingly
Do it
well.
well.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm gonna cry, and so I'll make you cry. Of course, to echo what those guys said, but to add in, we love you in the hills. You've helped us so much. I hate this. So from all our experience with you, over the years, and then when I came on the EC, you were nothing but wonderful. And the first thing you said when I got on committee was just let me know what you need. And it's been great, and we will miss you. But good luck, have fun, and hit him far.
Straight,
Far.
straight.
She hits
I hit straight. I hit straight.
She hits
Straight's the
straight.
problem. Far is a problem.
I'm a girl,
That's
I
not what
know.
I saw when I played with you, Jude.
She took all the
I'm just
fun.
kidding.
That's not what I saw, and we won one of the holes, so ha. But we love you.
Committeewoman Fernandez.
I just piggyback on what everyone else is saying. Even before I was on township committee, Judy, you have a wonderful reputation in our town. Everybody say, wow, that Judy Sullivan, she sure knows her stuff. And we're really going to miss you, and we can't thank you enough for all you've done for us and for our residents. And we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you.
So I don't know what this is all about because we've got budget sessions coming up. We got budget meetings, maybe one if Judy's, if she's really good, we can do one budget meeting.
We're trying to guilt her into staying.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Ugh.
No, I don't
Yeah,
think.
she's not flinching.
I think she's beyond that.
Yeah, I shipped 6 boxes of clothes to Florida today.
Oh my God.
You can still buy clothes here. Don't, the stores are open.
So, it's funny because when I made that remark about the administrator's report, I actually didn't realize it either. So now, oh, geez, I have to say something.
You don't have to. It's okay.
No,
So, a couple of years ago, Judy was recognized as the Somerset County, I forget what the title was, it Women of the Year?
Yes. They do an award every year in different categories, and I was the government recipient.
She was, this was down at the Imperia, right? It was down, big room.
In Franklin, right?
Big room, lots of people. Judy gets up.
I'm trying to think of the group. It's the action committee on the recognition of women.
Yes, that was it.
And they have different categories. They have public service. They have business, entrepreneurs. But we've had several people. Katie Rupert got it one year. Government agency is one of the categories, and I got it several years ago.
So Judy gets up and she starts talking about growing up in Bedminster. And, years later, she comes out of college and she's working here. So she's Bedminster born. Her career started here and never left Bedminster. Police, DPW, administration. She knows this town. She grew up in this town. She knows what every property looks like, who owned it, who did what in which room, which is a little scary. But just a wealth of knowledge. And just as we talked about before, it's one thing to have that knowledge, but it's another thing to use it and deploy it for the residents and folks in need. And she does that every single day. During COVID, businesses were shut down. We were operating.
Robin and I were here every day.
Right? Every day, Judy was here answering phones. Robin was there with her. We would cycle in and out. Township committee, what can we do to help? What can we do here? But Judy was here every day, making sure that the township was operating and operating efficiently. we'll have a budget session. We can do another round of goodbyes, but Judy, on behalf of all of Bedminster, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
May we have a motion to adjourn to executive session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're just gonna slide over to a breakout room.
So we're going to go to breakout room. John Pilardo will follow the breakout room. Gina Fernandez from executive session. The Township Committee is not taking any action following our executive session. Ms. Sullivan, do you want to make the motion to adjourn?
Sure. Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.